Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Chris doing another video that I hope you guys are going to be engaged with based on an article that's on the website. So if you look to my side, you'll see the article is Nike's price increases could drain the moat. Now, it's an interesting discussion because one, Nike's a $50 billion company, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. So let's get into this. The question is, are Nike price increases draining the moat? Now, here I have the title as Nike's price increases could drain the moat, but for the picture, because I'm going to put the video up, I had to make a really interesting thumbnail so people would see it. And I'm going to begin with the article. Over here to the side, you guys can read along, or you can simply listen, because I know a lot of people put this on in the background and you just listen to it and then you respond to it later. And I'm hitting the microphone. All right, so the Jordan Zion, it's only 3 iterations of the shoe, came out a couple of years ago. It was 110, now it's 140 on particular models. The Jordan Retros, every different number Jordan Retro, some of them went from 150 in the Jordan 2 all the way up to 170 and 180. The majority of the shoes are 190 and they went up to $210. Some are even as high as 220, and I think this year's Jordan 11 drop is going to be $230. I may be wrong about that, so we'll come back to that in the future. But these are all really interesting details to get into. Let's keep going. Nike Dunk. Less than 2 years ago, less than a year ago, it was $90. It is now $120 on some models. And this is the low. If we get into the mid and high, the mid, then we're looking at shoes that are now $130. The Air Max 90 used to be $110. It's now $130. The Ja 1 hasn't been out a year, and it's already had a price increase from $110 to $130 on the Halloween Ja. Now, Nike experienced a moment like we're in right now in 2015. They had flash sales, there were discounts at brand partners, and the resale market was beginning to implode. Resellers flooded the third-party marketplace with shoes they couldn't flip, and Amazon and eBay were overwhelmed with counterfeits, which is why you had the rise of StockX and the authentication services on eBay. Today, I'm talking 2015 at this point, but today, resellers are again flooding marketplaces with product they failed to flip. And this is leading to new categories on sites like StockX and GOAT. These resale platforms that formerly touted their websites as the place to flip high-end sneakers, they are now boldly claiming under retail. So let's click on this and see what I'm talking about here. So sneakers under $100, and this is on StockX's website. So you're starting to get this under 100 theme that's happening. Even Nike itself, if you don't have ad blockers turned on, you'll see ads, and Nike is using these Google ads and proudly stating certain shoes are always under $100. Now, when you visit the Nike site, if you type under 100, the search on the Nike site leads you to over 1,000 products on Nike.com that are under $100. And I'm going to click over to that link and show you what I'm talking about. And the majority of them are marked down. They were not originally $100 and less. 140, 44% off. It's giving you these green tags that show you. I did not do a breakdown on all of the shoes that are discounted, but there are an abundance of shoes. If you remove the little kid shoes and you simply go men and women, you get a bunch of these green marks, 39%, 48%, 39%, 24%. And you do have some under 100 shoes, but even basketball, 19%, 20% running, 44% on Air Jordan 1 golf. You can keep going down the list, 24%, 39%. And I'm just making sure you get a chance to see this and understand where I'm headed with this conversation. So on that Nike website, you have these big reduction in prices with additional 25% off if you have the app inside of the app that if you're using Nike.com, or if you're using sneakers, if you're using the Nike app, you have a bigger discount on top of the discounts that are already there. So if you log in, there are bigger discounts. So in 2021, supply chain issues created ridiculous demand and fluctuations in inventory. Now, Nike had a right to raise prices because they needed to offset freight cost. So they raised those prices. Now, since 2022, things have settled, but Nike continues to raise prices. And I'm saying right now that it could be the straw, or to use an analogy that I discussed on the recent New Street podcast, Nike could be draining its own moat. So if you look at this video from New Street, you can click to it. I'll put it in the description so you can check it out. In this discussion in 26 minutes,
they still probably are. The headspace, the mind space of people.
In this video, I explained the concept of the moat, the Nike moat. So if you watch that, make sure you please just take a second, click through and go and watch it, because I do a deep kind of breakdown of what I describe as the Nike moat and Nike as a castle. It's important for this discussion. So Nike has been increasing prices, and the adjustments are just kind of reverberating throughout the sneaker industry. Those price increases may be subtle and you may not think a lot about them, but for an Air Force One in particular, don't let me get ahead. Hold on. You had a particular segment of Nike fans that were TikTok and social media driven, and they were buying the Air Force One. Remember the dirty Air Force One trend, right? That crowd is moving on from the Air Force One. That doesn't mean it's not still selling, all right? Now, the moat that's around Nike, that moat is what I call a cash customer. So that moat, those people, and I gotta quit hitting this microphone, they're still buying. But the prices are starting to shape how that Nike cash customer is beginning to view the brand. It's hard to show how the cash customer is slowing down because it's cash. There's no receipt that you can pull. There's no data that you can pull, right? But it's not difficult to show how the casual Nike fan, that dirty Air Force One fan, it's not hard to show how that fan has changed directions when it comes to Nike. And here's where we're going to get into not a lot of data, but some data that you can look at that's going to be very simple and straightforward. It's going to be pictures. And I'm using one SKU. And that SKU is from third-party data, and it's the all-white Air Force One. And that shoe has gone from, in the last 2 years, $90 to $115. If you don't think that's going to affect the cash customer this holiday season, I don't know what you're thinking. In the last 4 years, right, when you think about that big price increase, no one has really talked about the evidence that shows how that shoe isn't selling through as fast anymore. But that's what I'm going to do here. So let's get into it. The Uptown, or the Air Force One, I think it can literally be replaced by any range of sneakers Nike has overproduced and made readily available. So once popular models that drove resale, right? The Dunk, the Jordan 1, Air Force One even. Those shoes no longer drive FOMO, fear of missing out. Nike used to create cool. They've always been great at creating cool. In the last 10 years, though, Nike allowed resale to become a measurement of cool. Read that again. The last 10 years, Nike has allowed resale to become a measurement of cool. The expansion of sneaker culture during these years, these last 10 years, was due to the ability of people being able to flip these kicks into profit. Nike traditionally utilized marketing to create true fans, but the sneaker echo chamber and sneaker culture, that echo chamber drives the narrative now. And unfortunately for Nike, this one SKU, the Air Force One, the all-white Air Force One men's, is an X-ray that shows the cracks in the foundation of the castle that is Nike. So this SKU, CW2288-111, the all-white Air Force One, in men's sizing, and I'm making sure I'm being specific here because I didn't do a breakdown on the women's side. I'm only doing men's when I do this data breakout, okay? This data breakout should be extremely troubling to Nike. Extremely troubling. Let's go. If you look here on this picture, and I'm going to drop the picture in, what you have is in 2022 from January 1st to November 4th, and I'm using those dates specifically because I can do a year-over-year comparison. The average sold price of the Air Force One was a $111.65. It was $111. This is third-party data. There's much more of these shoes being sold on StockX, and particularly on StockX, where the price isn't even this high. That was 10,000 sold at $1 million and some change, right? That's 2022. 2023 for the Air Force One has seen one of the most dramatic drops in prices. And I don't care who you are, retailer or brand, $80.50, the exact same SKU. The exact same SKU. A smaller amount, 8,498 pair, 684,000. $80.57 in 2023 when the price of the shoe is $110 and now $115. If that's not troubling to Nike, if they aren't looking at that, I don't know who the data people are inside, and I don't know if they're capable of adjusting. We don't know. Somebody maybe wants to get on a chat with me and say, yeah, Chris, we're paying attention to that. That would be great. Please contact me. I'd love to hear if you are paying attention to that. But this one SKU is critical to understanding what's happening across the board with Nike. Now, is that going to break Nike? Nike's a $50 billion company. I'm going to come back to that and I'll explain what I'm going to say in that regard later. One SKU versus one SKU. In order to correctly establish that there's a shift taking place, an alternative data set has to be delivered. I have to give you something else. Now, Adidas lost Ye, and they lost Beyonce. But former head of North America, Rupert Campbell, did an incredible job in the short time where he inherited this messy marketplace that was filled with influencer marketing pushes in North America. He leaned on his experience from Europe, and he slowly began to delve into the Adidas archive to revive the triumvirate of Samba, Stan Smith, Superstar. So using the SKU, one SKU, in comparison to the Air Force One, using one SKU, Samba B75806, it's not in any way on the level of sales as the all-white Air Force One. And remember, this is third-party data. This isn't coming from Foot Locker and these different stores. This is third-party data. This is the secondary marketplace. But here's what you need to recognize, and this is important to note. The Adidas Samba doesn't have really wide distribution, and it's not readily available in the same way that the Air Force One is, especially in the various different colors for the shoe. So I'm choosing B75806 simply because I need to measure it against the Air Force One to show the difference in what happened year over year for that sneaker. Adidas has taken this more moderate approach to the marketplace. Now, the data below on this Samba, when compared to the Nike third-party data above, obviously shows Nike is the dominant brand. I'm not saying that Adidas is greater than, or they're going to knock Nike off a pedestal. I'm making the discussion about the moat, that Nike has this moat, and Nike continuously increasing prices is opening doors for people to decide to choose other brands. And when I was in that New Street interview, if you went and watched it, it's long, but if you went and watched it, you can go specifically to that section. I talked about the fact that this is how erosion starts. Is that when you have small cracks in the foundation and water begins to get into those cracks, erosion. This Samba, pay attention. In 2022, the average price was $96.16. Retail price is $110. Adidas, I do not think they raised the price of the shoe. I think it may be $100 on some back at that point, but $110 is the retail price. In 2022, $96.16 and only 159 sold of that one SKU. I'm not talking all of the Sambas. I'm only looking at one skew. And that's important for you to note. But here is what's extremely important. In 2023, the average price has gone up to $126.77, and over 2,282 pair have been sold. Do you realize what that change is? The Samba's growth year over year from 2022 to 2023 is 1,335%, with an increase in average sold price from $96.16 to $126.77. That's a 32% increase in value in that shoe. Now, if you add this to the random observation of streetwear, what people are wearing on any day on a relaxing Saturday afternoon. And remember at the beginning of the video, I told you that I was going to show you this video. You get this cross section for analysis, right? You get a cross section of the person who is possibly being influenced by social media and their everyday person. So I'm going to show you this breakdown momentarily, and I'm going to open this video up so you can watch it. And I need to make sure I turn that volume down. So you're looking at the video and you see Converse and Nike, right? And there's going to be some music playing. Asics and On, and that's back there. And I'm making sure I don't get people's faces in this video because you shouldn't be videotaping people without their permission. All right, make sure you don't do that. So I'm making sure to keep people's just their feet in the video. But if you notice, you got Hoka, you have On, you have Vans, Tracksmith, which completely came out of nowhere for me. I was like, whoa, pair of Tracksmiths. More Hoka. So we keep going through this video. Now, those are Air Maxes back there, but I didn't even put the tag in the video to count it. So I'm continuing to walk and trying not to catch people's faces. All of those, New Balance, Air Jordan, Saucony right there. Nike, I counted that one earlier, so I'm not counting it again. Now we have a New Balance, a Hoka, and some random shoe. Then you have a Nike, Air Max Nike, and then you have Brooks and Crocs, Converse and Teva. It's Adidas and New Balance. This video gives you a clear kind of look into where the market is headed as far as, and if you're wondering what that event was the Broad Avenue Art Walk in Memphis, Tennessee. But when you come back and you look at the breakdown, the Merrell 1, Brooks 1, Crocs 1, Golden Goose 1, Teva 1, Tracksmith, which came out of nowhere, I didn't expect that, 1, Asics, Saucony 1, On Running 1, which there were more On Runnings, but I was very uncomfortable doing that video and I didn't tape as much as I should have. This is simply for discussion purposes, okay? Converse 2, Vans 2, New Balance 3, Adidas 3, Hoka 5, Nike and Air Jordan 7. You combine those two. If you simply called Nike and didn't include Air Jordan, Hoka and Nike would have been tied. When I talk about the cracks in the foundation, this is what I'm talking about. This is a real slice of America and sneakers. Now, Nike is a $50 billion a year company. There's not one thing that could break the camel's back. The conquering of a kingdom arrives in waves, both large and small. Water has eroded the foundation of the greatest structures in history. No brand or company is immune. Erosion is a slow process, but always happens when items are in disrepair. Man-made castles, like glaciers melting, mountains falling, and valleys being created, all collapse after years of neglect. Nike's neglect appears to be unconscious, and the elements of BK, HK, On, SC, AD, and that's Brooks, Hoka, On, Saucony, Adidas, might find a way to erode it even more if the swoosh continues to increase prices. That's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As I said, I'm going to get more into this type of content. I'll see you guys on the next one. If you have any questions, please ask. Do not run around videotaping people without their permission. It's not a good thing. If you do that, make sure you don't get anybody's feed. All right. I mean, don't get anybody's face. You can record the feed. I'll see you guys, and thanks for watching. Peace.